Hey, Tab family. Hope that you're all doing well as you can be in this very unique year of 2020. I just wanted to give a quick announcement. I guess as some of you have probably already heard, we emailed out to a bunch of people already, but we just wanted to let everybody know that we've decided as a group of leaders at the Tab to suspend our in-person services for the next few weeks. I know there's going to be lots of questions around why we would do that when we technically don't have to. And over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to explain it. But just know, if you don't want to watch this whole video, at this time, we've chosen as a group of leadership that we feel it's best for our community at this time to suspend our in-person services on Sunday mornings. Here's some of the reasonings. This week, we saw in our province, as our provincial leadership, our premier announced that we are currently in what we're called, I guess it's a state of public health emergency in our province. The numbers for COVID-19 are rising quite dramatically, and even right here in our own community in Lethbridge, they are rising as well. And so, as such, our government put in some restrictions, and I know this is a very polarizing issue right now. The restrictions that were put in place were a shutdown of all social gatherings, connecting together with people in your homes. They did choose, though, to kind of leave faith communities exempt from some of the bigger shutdowns for social gatherings. They basically left the 1/3 capacity, but added a couple of, just reinforced some things, I guess, again, that one, they really are discouraging, especially in this season, no singing in our congregations, ideally, because of the increased spread of COVID through exhalation. And so we are, it's a big factor. As well, they are encouraging, if you have the ability to do online services, they strongly recommend that we try to do that, as they're trying to reduce, again, the numbers of community transmission. As a group of leaders at the Tab for the last week, last few days at least, we've spent a lot of time praying about this, going back and forth. Each of the elders kind of putting in some perspectives, as well as our staff as well. And I think we've come to a pretty solid place of agreeing that for our community, this decision makes sense in this season. There's a few reasons. Again, we're pretty blessed with the technology that we have, that we actually have the ability to live stream. We've been streaming our services, since March, and having the ability to connect with people online has been really an incredible gift that we have as a community. And since launching in September, our live services again, our in-person services, we've only actually seen about 15% of the people come back into our congregation, which is great. I mean, I'm one of those 15% that gathers in the week right now on Sundays. The in-person services are certainly beautiful, but I think we've also recognized that the majority of our congregation, it has been doing pretty well overall by just engaging online. And I say just engaging. Actually, I found in some ways there's so many advantages where we have on the live stream that we've never actually really had in-person services. The ability to have some dialogue and connection and answer questions and comments right in the middle of our service has really been a beautiful gift that I think we've all discovered in this season. Now, for the 15% who do come, we understand that some of you are going to have questions and you'll be disappointed by this. I think most of you are going to be okay. You'll be fine with this. But if any one of you does have questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out. You can send me an email at frank@thetab.ca. I'd love to hear more about it. And again, we're not saying that we don't value our gathering together in person. We certainly do. And I certainly believe that it is a critical part of our faith. In this season, for these next few weeks, though, we do believe that for our community, the safest thing to do is to suspend our in-person service. Now, it's a tricky thing, right? The reality is we don't have to shut down. We're choosing to, again, because we feel it's right for our community, but also because we think it's right for us to stand again with those in our community right now to try to lower the transmission of this disease, this virus. Certainly in our in-person gatherings, the chances of getting COVID are extremely low. We are following every single protocol and some. We've done our best to make sure that we keep a very safe environment. But the reality is we can't completely eliminate that down to zero. And for real, honestly, we might not be able to for a long time. But in this season, when we see the numbers rising and we are in a state of public health emergency, we feel that it's best for us to suspend. Again, we have numerous people that fall into that vulnerable category, including in my own family and in our community. There are many that are in that segment, demographic. Earlier this week, someone had mentioned a really powerful scripture that I thought was very relevant to this moment and to things, I guess, that helped with our decision making, at least for me, at least. The Apostle Paul, in writing a letter to the church in Corinth, a community that was going through a massive change. There was political issues happening in the community, but there was also major shifts happening to those who chose to follow God. Most of those early Christians came from a Jewish background, and they were committed to the Jewish principles and the restrictions that had followed the Jewish faith. But as they became followers of Christ, many of them had discovered this new grace, this new freedom, as some of those things that had been, out of bounds, certain foods, for example, were now permissible. They believed that the grace that Jesus had poured out had clearly spelled that they were able to do this. Now, Paul was writing to this early church, recognizing that many of those, those early followers would have friends that were not followers of Christ, that they were, following Jewish traditions. And he was specifically wanting to deal with the moments where, there'd be interactions between them. Maybe they'd have people over for dinner. And, what do you do when you have now, different rules that define you? His words to them, again, just loosely paraphrasing, he said that although some things may be permissible, it doesn't mean that everything is always beneficial. He really laid out this idea that though we may have freedoms and graces, the idea that ultimately, we want to make sure we make the right choices and the right decisions in the moment. And he said the key metric, and I love this as he spells it out so clearly, the key metric to understand, what to do to make this decision is it going to benefit my neighbor? Does it communicate a message of love for my neighbor? He says that actually in 1 Corinthians 10. And so I guess I was thinking lots about that in this season, that I care about those in our community, and I care about those, our healthcare workers and those struggling, with COVID. And again, certainly those who have lost people and those who will likely still die from this. At the end of the day, we want to communicate love for our TAB family and for the community around us. And so that's why we've made the decision that we have. I want to stress that this decision is not a decision that we're here to, impose on anyone else or believe that any other faith community should be doing the same. We made this decision based on the TAB family, on our community, and what we believe is right for us in this season. I invite you as the TAB to continue to pray for the leaders of the faith community here in Lethbridge, here in our province, in our country, and around the world as we navigate a very challenging time. But please also continue to pray for our municipal leaders, our provincial leaders, our federal leaders as well, as they navigate, again, this pandemic. This is a very challenging season and a difficult moment for many. Continue to pray for healthcare workers, those on the front lines dealing with, again, the increased numbers of those battling this illness, and again, the backlog that it creates for others. And with that, pray for those who are sick. Please join me in praying for those who are sick, both those battling COVID, but also, those who, because of, the backlog, may find their elective surgeries being bumped. And again, the potential for that to impact their life is very real. Please pray for those who are struggling with sickness. And then on top of that, though, this has been a tough time for everybody. And so I encourage you, pray for your neighbors. Pray for those around you who might be struggling. Pray for those who are battling a very challenging season. And again, as we move into Christmas, a time where many find it to be a joyful time, but it is also a very stressful, and especially this year, potentially, a very discouraging time for many. We invite you to pray, but not just pray. As we've said from the very beginning of this pandemic, we want to be a tangible presence, bringing support to those in need in our community. So if you're part of the TAB family, and if you have needs, or if you're struggling, or if there's anything that we can do for you, please reach out to us. Let us know how we can support you in this season. Again, you can send an email to care@thetab.ca. This is probably the best way to reach out to get us to respond immediately. On top of that, though, we don't want to just care for our own community. We want to care for our neighbors, our coworkers, our friends. And so please take time to reach out, to call them, maybe FaceTime. Again, this incredible moment that we have in history where we have technology that we can actually do face-to-face meetings on the phone. Make sure you're reaching out, caring for those around you, your coworkers, your neighbors, especially when we can't meet socially and check in on people. This is a great moment to make sure you're being proactive with reaching out and asking people how they're doing. This is a season we're moving into of Advent. And in this season, we celebrate some main themes of hope and joy and peace and love. And I pray that each of you, as we navigate this challenging moment, would experience those things tangibly in your life. A hope this will end. I promise at some point this will change. We don't know what it's going to look like, but the reality is our hope is built in Jesus. We trust him. We trust that he will give us strength and guide us through all of the storms of our lives. I pray that joy would rise up, that you would find ways to be joyful and to share it. And again, as we've said, we're doing the joy of giving again. So I encourage you, find people to bless around you. May peace cover each of your homes. And as well, may we be peacemakers in a season where divisions are rising constantly. May we be peacemakers. That's, as Jesus called them, those people are called the children of God. May we be children of God and be peacemakers in this season. And may love define every word, every action, and even our thoughts as we move forward in this season. Well, looking forward to connecting on Sunday. Again, you can join us on our YouTube channel at the Tab Online or on our Facebook page. Our services are live streamed on both platforms there. Again, at this Lethbridge Christian Tab, you can connect with us there. Again, and I want to encourage you, as inconvenient as this online service may be, it's also an incredible opportunity. You know, some of those etiquette things where you don't talk in church, man, that's out the window. I want you to interact and dialogue as much as you can during the service. We want to celebrate the space that we have to connect, to encourage each other. So if you have prayer requests, if you have needs, if you have comments, if you have questions, please feel free to use that comment section on both of our platforms there. Thanks again for your grace, for your patience, and for your support for us as a community. I pray that God would richly continue to bless you, and may he pour out his peace on you in this season. God bless. Stay safe.